Hello and welcome. I want to invite you on a journey, not to a place, but to a time. The year is 1944. The month a bitter December. The place a snow-covered besieged town in Belgium called Bastogne. In the cellars of this broken town, history was not only being written with bullets and blood, but with the soft scratch of a pencil on paper. It was a sound of defiance, a sound of hope against a wall of silence. This is a letter from a young American GI named James Sullivan to his fiancée Eleanor waiting for him back home in Ohio. It is a letter written by candlelight, a letter that served as both a lifeline to a world of warmth and a final testament from a world of cold. It is a story about a love that refused to freeze and a promise held in the shape of a small wooden bird. And so, from a time capsule of courage and heartbreak, let us open this letter and listen to a voice from the cold. My dearest Eleanor, there is a cellar in Bastogne, and tonight it is the whole world. I am writing this by the light of a single sputtering candle that casts our shadows long and dancing against the damp stone walls, making giants and ghosts of ordinary frightened men. The air is thick with the smell of wet earth, of cordite, of sweat, and of something else. Something metallic and ancient. The smell of fear. Outside, the snow falls in a thick, soundless blanket, a shroud meant to muffle the world, to bury it in a white so pure it feels like a lie. But here in the belly of this broken town, there is no purity. There is only the cold. It is a cold unlike any I have ever known, Eleanor. It is not the cheerful, bracing cold of an Ohio winter, the kind that reddens your cheeks and makes the promise of a hearth fire all the sweeter. This is a cruel, invasive cold. It is a presence, a hunter. It slips through the wool of our coats, past the thin fabric of our resolve, and settles deep in the marrow of our bones. My fingers are so numb, it feels as though I am holding this pencil with another man's hand. I have to stop every few lines to tuck them into my armpits, trying to coax some life back into them. And in those moments, I think of you. I think of how you would take my hands in yours after a long day in the workshop, my knuckles chapped and stained with wood polish, and you would chafe them between your soft palms, breathing your own warmth into me. It is a memory so vivid, so overwhelmingly real, that its absence now is a physical pain, a hollow ache in the center of my chest, more profound than any hunger. That simple memory, Eleanor, has become a form of contraband in this place, a luxury more precious than bread or bullets. The shelling stopped about an hour ago. We are learning to measure time not by the hands of a clock, but by the spaces between explosions. And in these spaces, a new enemy emerges, the silence. It's the silence that's the worst you see. Back home, silence was a comfort. It was the quiet of the woods behind your house, the peaceful hush of the town after midnight, the shared unspoken understanding between us as we sat on your porch swing. But here, silence is a coiled thing, a predator waiting. It is a canvas upon which the mind paints its most terrible masterpieces. In the silence, you hear the wind whistling through the skeletons of burned-out buildings, and it sounds like a woman weeping. You hear the chattering of your own teeth, a frantic rhythm you cannot stop. You hear the soft, guttural moan of a wounded man in the corner, dreaming of a place that is not here. The world outside has been reduced to shades of white and gray. And red. The great proud pines of the Ardennes, the ones we saw in pictures, are now just splintered stumps, their limbs torn and mangled, reaching for the sky like the arms of the dying. To look upon it is to understand that we are not merely in a battle, we are inside a wound. And we, the soldiers, are the desperate microscopic cells trying to hold it all together, trying to fight off the infection of despair that threatens to consume everything. I look at the faces around me in this flickering gloom. There's a boy from Brooklyn, no older than 18, who quietly hums tunes I don't recognize. There's a farmer from Iowa who does nothing but stare at a photograph, its corners soft and gray from the constant touch of his thumb. We don't speak of home anymore. We tried in the beginning. But the distance is too great, the contrast too cruel. To speak of warmth now is to make the cold feel colder. To speak of love is to sharpen the edge of loss. So we sit in our shared silence, each man an island adrift in the same frozen sea. So why do I write to you? Why this letter now when paper is scarce and the future is a page I cannot read? I write my love because this act, this shaping of letters into words, is the last vestige of the man I was. My hands, which were meant to shape wood, to build things of beauty and utility, are now trained only to hold a rifle, to pull a trigger to survive. This M1 rifle is a cold, heavy, impersonal thing. It has no memory of the grain of oak or the scent of cedar. It knows only how to destroy. And so I write to you to remember. I write to feel the weight of this pencil, to force my numb fingers, to trace the curves of your name, to build a bridge of ink and paper that spans the impossible distance from this cellar to your heart. This letter is not a report from the front, Eleanor. It is an act of rebellion. It is my refusal to let this place have all of me. It is the part of my soul that still belongs to you, sent out into the void in the desperate hope that it might find its way home. I need you to know that in the midst of this, you are impossibly brilliantly clear in my mind. You are the color in a world that has been bled of it. When I close my eyes, I see the precise shade of blue in your own, the way a stray lock of your hair catches the afternoon sun, the small, determined set of your jaw when you are lost in a book. These are not just memories. They are my rations. They are what I consume when the hunger for hope becomes unbearable. They are my compass, my true north in a world that has lost all direction. The man I was the one who built chairs and cabinets. He feels 1,000,000 miles away. But the man who loves you, Eleanor, he is right here. He is in every word on this page. He is holding on with everything he has. Recalling the memory of your face is my only warmth. A small fire I cup my hands around in the unending winter of this place. I close my eyes, and for a moment I let the damp chill of the cellar fall away. I refuse it. I push back against the gray, oppressive weight of this reality, and I travel. I travel back through the months past the long voyage across the Atlantic, past the mud of basic training, past the tear-streaked moment of our goodbye at the train station. I go further to a time when the world was not broken, to a time when our only horizon was the future we were planning together. I am searching for one day in particular, a day of impossible warmth and color. I find it. A Tuesday in late September, the day I asked you to be my wife. Do you remember it, Eleanor? I am sure that you do. The sun was a benevolent god that day, pouring a honeyed golden light over everything it touched. We had walked out to Miller's Pond, taking the old logging path through the woods. The air was crisp, filled with the scent of pine and the rich, sweet decay of fallen leaves. Every gust of wind sent a cascade of red and yellow spinning down from the maples, a slow, silent applause from the turning season. There was no gray, no white. Only the deep, impossible blue of the sky reflected in the still water of the pond and the fiery palette of autumn all around us. And you were wearing that simple blue dress, the one that matched your eyes, with a yellow cardigan thrown over your shoulders. We sat beneath the great old oak tree whose roots run down to the water's edge. I can still feel the rough, comforting bark against my back, a stark contrast to the cold, weeping stone I lean against now. We shared a thermos of hot apple cider, the steam fragrant with cinnamon, and you laughed at something. I said a sound so clear and bright, it seemed to startle the birds from the branches above. It is that sound, Eleanor, your laughter, that I am fighting for. Not the grand ideas of freedom and country that the generals speak of, but the simple, sacred right for a sound like that to exist in the world. I close my eyes, and I can almost feel the warmth of that sun on my face, instead of this biting frost. In this darkness, I have become a miner of memories, and that single day is the richest vein of gold I have ever struck. It was then, when the afternoon light was at its softest, that I reached into my coat pocket. My heart was a frantic drum against my ribs, louder than any artillery I have heard here. My hands were shaking not from cold, but from a glorious, terrifying hope. I didn't have a ring for you then, not the one we would later pick out together. I had something else. Something my hands had made imbued with every hopeful thought I had for our future. I placed it in your palm. A small bird carved from a piece of seasoned oak I had saved for over a year, sanded so smooth, it felt like polished stone. A sparrow. I remember watching your fingers close around it, your expression shifting from curiosity to a deep, quiet understanding. I watched the sunlight catch the subtle lines I had carved into its wings, the gentle curve of its back. I told you it was a promise. That sparrows are humble birds, that they stay through the winter, that they are symbols of hope and endurance. I told you it would watch over you from the windowsill, a guardian, until the man who carved it came home. You looked up from the bird to me, and your eyes were so full, so bright it took my breath away. And in the silent question, I found the courage I needed. I asked you to marry me. You didn't answer right away. You just smiled a slow, beautiful dawn of a smile. Do you remember what you said right after? I do. You traced the wing of the wooden bird with your fingertip and whispered, "Does he have a name?" It was such a perfectly you question, so full of gentle whimsy and a moment of such gravity that all my fear dissolved. I told you he didn't. I told you he was just our sparrow. And you said, then yes. Yes, I will. Now, 1,000 lifetimes away, in this frozen hell, that moment is my sanctuary. I retreat to it when the fear becomes too much to bear. I replay every detail, every word, every sensation. It is the proof that a world of warmth and light and love once existed and therefore can exist again. It is the reason I am here. We are all fighting for something, for someone. Some of the men fight for a photograph. Some fight for a letter from a father. I am fighting for a Tuesday in September. I am fighting for the memory of a golden afternoon and for the promise of countless more to come. Tell me, my love, does he still sit on your windowsill? Does our sparrow still watch the road? I need to believe he does. I need to believe he is waiting steadfast and patient, his silent wooden gaze a beacon across the dark water. I need to believe he is keeping you safe, a small, unbreachable fortress of our love standing guard, until I find my way back to the world he inhabits. The world where things are made not broken. The world where there is still sun. The question hangs there in the frozen air of the cellar, a breath held too long. Does he still watch the road? I ask it of your ghost, of the beautiful memory I have conjured, to sit with me in this gloom. Of course, there is no answer. There is only the drip, drip, drip of melting frost from the ceiling, a merciless little clock ticking away the seconds of our lives. The golden warmth of that September sun fades. The image of your smile recedes, and the cold rushes back in with a vengeance, a physical shock, as if I have just been plunged into a frozen lake. The stone wall feels harder against my back. The shadows seem darker, more menacing. The weight of my rifle propped against my knee feels heavier. This is the price of memory, I suppose. It is a momentary paradise that makes the subsequent return to exile all the more painful. Life here has been stripped down to its most brutal essentials, staying warm, staying alive. We measure our wealth in single rounds of ammunition, in dry socks, in half a biscuit, saved from a K-ration tin. We trade stories of home like their rations, each one a little piece of warmth in this endless cold. We huddle together for body heat strangers from 1,000 different towns, now bound by a brotherhood so profound it needs no words. We have learned the geography of fear, the subtle difference in sound between an incoming and an outgoing shell. We have learned to sleep in the midst of chaos and to be wide awake in the dead of silence. We have forgotten what it feels like to be full, to be clean, to walk without the constant gnawing tension in the muscles of the back and neck. And in the midst of it all, I find myself thinking the strangest things. I do not fear death in the way I thought I would. The prospect of a sudden end, a flash of light, is not the thing that haunts my waking hours. My terror is more subtle, more insidious. I am afraid of forgetting. I am afraid that if I endure this long enough, I will forget the precise shade of green the world turns in the Ohio spring. I am afraid I will forget the taste of your mother's apple pie, or the melody of the song the ice cream truck used to play on summer evenings. Sometimes in the cacophony of an attack, I find myself struggling to recall the sound of your laughter and that Eleanor. That is a terror all its own. It is the fear that this place will not only kill my body, but that it will systematically erase the man I was scraping away at my soul until nothing is left but a hollowed-out shell, a creature of instinct and violence. That is my true war. It is the battle I fight every minute, every hour. To hold on to the man you love. To keep him safe not from German bullets, but from the slow, creeping poison of this place. The man I was the one who built chairs and cabinets. He feels 1,000,000 miles away. His hands knew the patience of wood, the gentle persuasion of a chisel. My hands now know only the cold, mechanical logic of a weapon. They have become instruments of a purpose so alien to my nature that I sometimes look at them as if they belong to someone else. And so I have found a small act of defiance. From my pocket, I take a small, rough piece of wood. It is a piece of pine splintered from one of the shattered trees in the forest by an artillery blast. It still smells faintly of resin and the cold, clean air of the Ardennes. And with the small trench knife every soldier carries, I have begun to carve. It is a clumsy, difficult process. My hands are stiff with cold, my knife is not the right tool, and the flickering light plays tricks on my eyes. But as I slowly, painstakingly shave away slivers of the wood, something miraculous happens. I am no longer just a soldier in a cellar. I am a carpenter again. I am carving another sparrow, Eleanor, a brother for the one that sits on your windowsill. He is rougher, more primitive than the first. His lines are not as clean, his form not as perfect. This wood is a product of this war, scarred and distressed, and yet he is taking shape. Beneath the dirt and the grime, a wing emerges. The gentle slope of a back takes form, and in this act of creation, however small, I find my anchor. This is my prayer. My hands, which have learned to kill, are remembering how to give life. I am fighting back against the destruction, not with a rifle, but with a simple piece of wood and a sharpened blade. I am proving to myself, and to whatever God might be listening, that the part of me that builds and loves is still stronger than the part that is being taught to hate and destroy. This little bird is my testament. He is born of the very violence that seeks to unmake me, and he is my promise to you that I will not be unmade. He is the tangible proof that I am still in here. I will keep working on him in the quiet moments between the madness. I will pour into him every memory of you, every hope for our future. He will be my companion in this darkness, a small wooden heart beating silently in my pocket. The simple act of carving, of coaxing a shape from a piece of shattered wood, brings a fragile peace. For a few precious minutes, the world shrinks to the space between my hands, the blade and the bird. But peace in this place is a currency we cannot hold for long. It began as a murmur at the far end of the cellar, a ripple of unease spreading through the huddled men. A runner had come down from the command post, his face pale and grim in the lantern light. Whispers turned to low, urgent conversation. I put the unfinished sparrow back in my pocket, its sharp edges a small, secret comfort against my thigh, and listened. The news fell upon us not like a bomb, but like a slow, creeping frost, chilling us more than the air ever could. The Germans have us surrounded. This we knew. We are cut off an island of resistance in a sea of gray uniforms, but the news was that they had sent a formal request. An ultimatum. Surrender or face total annihilation. The word hung in the air, surrender. For a moment no one spoke. We just let the weight of that single word settle upon us. Surrender. 2 syllables that held within them an almost unbearable temptation. Surrender meant an end to the shelling, an end to the gnawing hunger. It meant an end to this freezing, troglodytic existence. It meant the possibility, however slim, of one day going home. It would be so easy to say yes, Eleanor. So easy to dream of laying down this rifle and just walking away from the madness into the quiet resignation of a prisoner of war camp. For a heartbeat, I allowed myself to imagine it. To simply stop fighting. To choose life. Then the second part of the news arrived, passed down the line like a secret password. Our commander, General McAuliffe, had given the Germans his official response. It was a response so simple, so absurdly American, that in any other context it would have been laughable. His answer in its entirety was one word: nuts. A strange sound filled the cellar then. It started as a low chuckle, then grew into a weary but genuine laugh. Men who hadn't smiled in weeks cracked grins in the darkness. Nuts. It was profane, it was dismissive, it was magnificent. It was a slammed door in the face of logic. It was the collective voice of every tired, frozen, and hungry man in this town, saying we would rather die in the snow than kneel in it. The word was a spark, and in that moment it lit a fire in the cold hearts of 1,000 men. The temptation to surrender vanished, burned away by the heat of that single defiant word. And so here I am, caught in the heart of the great paradox of our time. Every fiber of my being, every cell, screams with the desire to live, to survive, to return to you. My love for you is a gravitational pull, a force of nature urging me toward safety, toward home. And yet, it is that very same love that gives me the strength to stay. How strange it is that to protect a gentle world, one must become so hard. To defend a life of peace, one must willingly walk through the gates of hell. I am not a hero, Eleanor. I am not brave in the way the stories are written. I am a terrified man who has simply made a choice and now must live with it. I have chosen to stand with these men, to honor the flag we serve, to be worthy of the future we are fighting for. I took the small sparrow out of my pocket again, after the laughter died down. I looked at the rough-hewn pine, a fragment of this savaged forest. Out there beyond these stone walls stands what is left of the woods that gave birth to this small piece of wood. They are a haunting testament to the destructive power of men. Trees that had stood for a century ripped apart in seconds. A place of life and quiet growth turned into a landscape of death. And yet in my hand, a piece of that same desecrated forest, is slowly becoming a symbol of life, a bird poised for flight. That is the choice, isn't it? The world gives us all the same material, the same wood. We can let it be splintered and destroyed, or we can, with patience and resolve, try to carve something beautiful from it. I am fighting my love for a world where we have the freedom to make that choice. I am fighting for the simple, decent idea that a man's hands are better suited for creation than for destruction. My love for you gives me the strength to stay here, even when every instinct screams for me to run home. My duty is to fight, but my purpose is you. They are not at odds, you see. They are one and the same. To abandon one would be to betray the other. And so I will hold this line. We will hold this line. We will be as stubborn and as defiant as that one beautiful word. That one word, nuts, has bought us time. It has bought us another night in this frozen cellar, another chance to see the dawn. But it is a defiant act that comes with a terrible cost. We know what is coming. The response to our defiance will be fury. The quiet that has fallen over the town now is not one of peace, but of anticipation. It is the deep breath before the plunge. And in this shared final quiet, the grand ideas of country and duty fall away, and what is left is startlingly, achingly simple. What is left, my love, is you. My thoughts are no longer on the battle, but on the life that waits for me beyond it. The life I am gambling with every minute I remain here. So I will not write to you of the war anymore. I will not write of the cold or the fear or the men who share this darkness with me. I will write to you of coming home. I do not dream of ticker-tape parades or of being called a hero. My dreams are smaller, more sacred. I dream of the precise, familiar creak of the third step on your parents' porch. I dream of the smell of the coffee you brew in the morning, a scent that to me is the very definition of peace. I dream of walking into my workshop and breathing in the holy smell of sawdust and varnish. I dream of sitting with you on the porch swing, not saying a word, simply watching the fireflies begin their silent, blinking symphony as dusk settles over the fields. These small moments, Eleanor, are the true territory I am defending. They are my America. They are the kingdom I would lay down my life for. The thought of them is so powerful, so vivid, that it almost makes me careless. It makes me want to stand up and run from this place, to simply start walking west until I find the ocean, and then swim until I find you. It is a dangerous, beautiful, treasonous thought, and it is the only thing that keeps me sane. Tonight, under the watchful eye of this dying candle, I did something I had been waiting to do. I took out the half-finished sparrow, the little brother born of this broken forest. His shape is familiar in my palm now, a small, solid piece of hope. With the very tip of my knife, a blade that has seen things no tool of mine was ever meant to see, I began a final, delicate task. My hand, which has grown accustomed to the brutal kick of a rifle, had to relearn its own gentleness. I held my breath, steadying my wrist against my knee. And there, on the underside of his left wing, in a place no one would ever think to look, I carved a single, perfect letter. E, for Eleanor. It is a secret, my love. A message meant only for you. The wood curled away from the blade, and there it was, your initial etched into the heart of the pine. It is my signature, my claim. It is the mark of the man who made it and the woman for whom it was made. It is my way of ensuring that a piece of me will always irrevocably belong to you. If this small bird is the only part of me to survive this war, I wanted it to carry my final word. And my final word, my first word, my only word, is your name. It is the beginning and the end of my entire world. Now I must say the hardest thing. We are soldiers, and we are realists. We know that not all of us will walk out of this town. If this letter is the last thing you ever receive from me, if my own journey ends here in the snows of Belgium, I need you to know this. My last thought will not be of the terror or the pain. It will be of that September afternoon of the sun on your face, of the wooden bird in your hand. That will be my heaven. And I need you to make me a promise. A promise I will never know if you keep, but one I must trust you with. Do not mourn me forever, Eleanor. You must not. Your heart is too bright a thing to be shrouded in darkness for long. You must live. You must find joy. You must laugh until your sides ache. You must drink hot apple cider on cold autumn days and feel the sun on your face, and marry a good, kind man who will build you a house with a sturdy porch swing. You must have children with his eyes and your smile. You must live a life so full and beautiful and rich with happiness that it is enough for both of us. That is your mission. That is the only way my sacrifice, if it comes to that, will have any meaning. Promise me, Eleanor. Promise me you will live a beautiful life. For me, because my love for you is not a tether meant to hold you to the past. It is a sail meant to catch the wind and carry you forward. It is the truest and most honest thing I have ever known. It is the one part of me that this war can never ever touch. It is pristine. It is eternal. And it is yours. Completely. Always. The candle is guttering its small flame, drowning in a pool of its own wax. My fingers are stiff, not just from the cold now, but from the marathon of this letter, from the effort of pouring so much of myself onto these fragile pages. To have written it all down, to have spoken to you across this impossible distance, has been a kind of release, a confession. I feel lighter somehow. The fears I spoke of have not vanished, but in giving them a name, in sharing them with you, I have taken away some of their power. You have always had that effect on me. You are the steady hand that calms the trembling in my own. Even your memory is a fortress. Someone is moving down the line. His voice a low, urgent rasp. Stand to. 5 minutes. The words are quiet, but they land with the force of a physical blow. The brief respite is over. The time for memory and reflection has been spent. The world outside, the one of snow and steel, is calling for us again. The men around me are stirring a collective rustle of wool and leather, and the hard metallic click of a bolt being checked, a magazine being seated. No one complains. No one speaks. There is only a shared, grim understanding in the tightening of jaws and the silent, tired meeting of eyes. We are ready. As ready as we will ever be. They're calling my name now. The night is not over. It is perhaps just beginning. I must fold this letter. I must entrust it to a man from the medical corps who has promised to see that it gets out with the next convoy of wounded, if such a convoy ever exists. I am placing all my faith, all my words, all my love into the hands of a stranger, hoping he understands the sacred weight of what he carries. So this is it. Goodbye for now. That is what I must believe. Not goodbye forever, but goodbye for now. I love you. 3 words, so small and inadequate to hold the entirety of what I feel, but they are the truest words I know. I love you, Eleanor Vance. I loved you the moment I saw you, and I will love you past the moment this world and everything in it turns to dust. Never ever doubt that. Whatever you hear, whatever news may or may not come, hold on to that truth. It is the one thing I know for certain. I am putting the small, unfinished sparrow back in my breast pocket, the one over my heart. I can feel its hard, reassuring shape pressed against me. He will go with me out into the darkness. He is my silent companion, a reminder of the man I am and the home I am fighting to see again. He is scarred wood from a broken forest, and I am a broken man from a peaceful land, and together we will face what comes. We will endure. And you, my love, you must be strong. Be my strength. Think of me not as I am, now a shadow in a cellar, but as I was on that September day, a young man dizzy with love, with a whole future shining in his eyes. Hold on to that man. He is the one who is coming home to you. The flame is gone. I am writing these last few words in near total darkness, the pencil moving by memory alone. My heart is calm. It is strangely, completely calm. For in this final moment there is no more fear. There is only love. It is a shield. It is a light. It is everything. Keep the window open for our sparrow, my love. He will find his way home. One way or another, he will. All my love forever, James. One way or another, he will. And so the letter ends. The candle flame flickers out, and we are left in the quiet with the echo of James's final words. A promise, a prayer sent out into the void. Throughout his letter, James Sullivan fought a war on two fronts. The first was in the frozen forests of the Ardennes. The second, and perhaps the harder, was the war he fought within himself, the battle to hold on to his own humanity. He anchored himself not with weapons, but with memories of a golden September sun, and with a tiny, defiant act of creation, carving a small sparrow from a piece of shattered pine. That bird with a secret initial carved beneath its wing became the vessel for everything he could not say out loud, his fear, his devotion, and his undying hope. History tells us that the 101st Airborne did, against all odds, hold Bastogne. But victory in war is always a story of individual loss. The letter we have just shared was found in a small waterproof pouch on the body of Private James Sullivan. He was killed in action on December 26, 1944, just 2 days after the siege was broken. They say he died protecting a wounded comrade. In his breast pocket they found a small, unfinished wooden sparrow. It was rough-hewn and stained, but on the underside of its wing, clear as the day it was carved, was the letter E. James never made it home. But in a way, his sparrow did. This letter is his sparrow. It is the part of his soul that took flight, that crossed an ocean and the chasm of time to reach us here in this moment. It reminds us that in the midst of the grand, terrible machinery of war, the most powerful force has always been and will always be a human heart, clinging to a single cherished name. It reminds us that what we build with love is the only thing that truly endures. What is the wooden sparrow in your life? What small symbol of hope do you carry in your own heart? Thank you for sharing this moment with us. I'm the last letter. Thank you for listening.